أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدم. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. طيب, what does إيلاء mean? For a person for a person to make oath that he's not, for a person to make for a person to take oath that he's not going to go to his wife, have sexual intercourse with her for 4 months or more. Like, what happens, since you answered, what happens when a person does ila? Yeah, the one that does it, the Zawj. What do we say to him? Are you asking me a question? No, I'm asking you. Yeah. She can ask for her haqq, which is what? So she can ask for her right, which is that he has intercourse with her. Just like that. أنت ما ذكرت. You didn't revise. Yeah. Like, time-wise, what about if he says, I will not go to my wife for 1 month? What happens? So what happens after? Let's just say he says, Wallahi, I'm not going to go to you for 1 month. What happens? Either this or that. La, I said 1 month. If he says, Wallahi, I will not go to you, or have intercourse with you for 1 month. If he breaks it before the month, yeah. If he does it before the month, meaning he has intercourse with her before the month, then he gives a yamin. طيب, kafarat yamin. What about if he doesn't?
He has up to 4 months, 10 days.
If he doesn't, yani, if he after 1 month, he says, Wallah, I will not go approach my wife for 1 month, and he doesn't approach her in 1 month. What happens there? Why? La. If he says, Wallah, I will not go to you for 1 month, and he doesn't, خلاص انتهت القصة. It's finished. That's fine. أمر بوطئها, that's after 4 months. He's commanded with going to her after 4 months. Lakin, during 1 month, that's not ila, that's a yamin. So if he breaks his promise in 1 month, khalas. If he goes to her in 1 month, within that month he goes to have intercourse with her, he has to do kafarat yamin, he has to expiate. If he doesn't, khalas, there's nothing on him, because he hasn't broken a promise. طيب. What about if it reaches 4 months? What happens? Yani he says, Wallah, I will not go to for 4 months and 2 days, or 4 months and 15 days. What then? Immediately. Okay, so let's say he gets to 4 months and 10 months. We go to his house and we say, you done ila, therefore you need to do this or that. نعم إذا طلبت الزوجة, if the zawja asks for it, طيب, then he's given an option of what and what. Yeah, first before that to go to her, to approach her, or to divorce her. These are the 2 options. What about dhihar? What is dhihar? Naam, for a husband to liken his wife to any of the women that are haram for him forever, any part of their body. طيب. What is the ruling of that? Halal, haram, haram. Dalil. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, Command says that is qawl, that is zur. Qawl zuran. إنهم يقولون منكر من القول وزورا. Munkar, evil, wazur, and it is a lie. طيب. What happens if he does say that? He says, you're like the back of my mother to me. What happens?
His wife's wife is haram. After the saying of it, his wife becomes haram.
After it, she becomes haram. So what happens? He has to divorce her? If he wants to go back to that, if he wants to go back to his wife, then he needs to free a slave. طيب. ثم يعودون لما قالوا فتحرير رقبة من قبل أن يتماسا. طيب. What is li'an? نعم. A man accuses his wife of adultery, and they get in front of the hakim, and then he bears witness 4 times that he's telling the truth, and on the 5th go he says, may the curse of Allah be upon me if I am lying. And she does the same and says that he is lying in what he has accused me of, and may the anger of Allah Jalla wa Ala be upon me if I am from the liars. What are some of the effects or rulings that come after li'an? They can no longer marry each other. So what happens is fasakh, and they can no longer marry each other. What else? No, we can also make li'an of the child and say the child is not mine. طيب. So today, inshallah, we're going to start Kitab al-Idad wal-Istibra. We actually started last week, I believe. Last week, I believe we started. طيب. The iddah is the waiting period. The iddah is the waiting period. طيب. And the waiting period has many wisdoms behind it. From the wisdoms of the waiting period is that when a man divorces his wife, sometimes what can happen is he divorces her out of the anger of the moment, spur of the moment. He divorces her. He says, I divorce you. Obviously, he's angry. And he doesn't, at that particular moment, doesn't understand the repercussions of what he has just said. So because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated for us a iddah period, a waiting period. And this iddah period is a period in which a man can take his wife back without having to go through the initial process of a mihr and nikah and so on. And it gives both of them the time to get a rest from one another, take a break. Because often what happens is when 2 people live together and they're constantly having arguments, they forget the virtue of the other one. They forget how good, kind, they forget all of the positive traits that the other person possesses. And they only remember the negative stuff. Lakin often what happens is when a man leaves his wife for a month or so, or even 2, that is kind of like a cooling off period. And in life in general, people go through different stages. When people are married, there are certain things they take for advantage. And they don't realize the benefit of it and the importance of it. And they don't realize how much they love that person. So when they get divorced, when they say anti-taliq or whatever, and then they're separated, there's going to be 1,000 other possibilities that can come to the person. Like the man may get jealous that she's going to marry someone else. He may think, where am I going to get a wife like her? She may think exactly the same. So that is the wisdom behind the talaq al-raj'i, the waiting period. As for talaq, there's talaq as well that we studied last week when a man dies and his wife waits 4 months and 10 days. That is out of sincerity and honoring the marital contract that they once had. That is from the wisdoms of the iddah. Right. So before going into carrying on from where we left off last week, I want you to write these 2 points down. And by writing these 2 points down, this is a summary of the whole chapter. And it's good for the student of knowledge when they're studying a chapter to try summarizing it before understanding it in detail. So the first title is Anwa'ul Idad, أنواع العدد, the types of waiting periods. Yeah, do you want to write it down and you can ask later, inshallah? Yeah, or write it down on your phone something and then you can ask later. So there are different types of waiting periods that we shall see. There are different types of waiting periods that we shall see, inshallah. The very first one is iddatul wafa, and that is the iddah when the man passes away, and that is 4 months and 10 days. 4 months and 10 days. Then there's iddatul aqra. There's iddatul aqra or iddatul hayd. In other words, there's the iddah of the hayd, whereby the woman that has that specific trait, she waits 3 menstrual cycles. She waits until she gets her hayd on 3 occasions. The third is iddatul shuhur, the waiting period of months or consisting of months. And that is the waiting period where a woman waits 3 months for her iddah to end. For example, women that no longer go through hayd, that have reached menopause, for example, over the age of 50 or 55, that don't get hayd, we don't say to them, you have to wait, if your husband divorces you, you have to wait 3 menstrual cycles. Why? She doesn't get menses anyway. So she waits 3 months. The fourth one is iddatu wad' al-hamli, the iddah of giving birth, whereby if a woman is pregnant and her husband divorces her, her iddah, as we shall see, is until she gives birth. And there's the iddah of al-istibra', iddatul istibra', iddatul istibra', and we shall see that at the end of the chapter, and it is 1 hayd. The iddatul istibra' it means to make sure that the woman is not pregnant. We just need to make sure that this woman is not pregnant, and we can find out whether she's pregnant or not with the passing of 1 menstrual cycle, 1 menses, and that is 1 menses. The first one was iddatul wafa, the second was iddatul aqra or iddatul hayd or iddatul hiyad, 3. So how many have we got? 5. The first, what does iddatul wafa means? It is the time that a woman waits when her husband passes away, 4 months and 10 days. Second one, iddatul aqra or iddatul hiyad, and that is 3 menstrual cycles, 3 times that the woman experiences menses. The third one, iddatul shuhur, which is the woman that doesn't get hayd, that doesn't get menses, she has to wait 3 months. The fourth one, iddatul hamli, and that is iddatu wad' al-hamli, until the iddah of the woman that is pregnant, which is until she gives birth. And the last one is iddatul istibra', and we shall see that, and it just means basically we need to know if this woman is pregnant or not. For example, a man sells off his female slave. We don't know if she's pregnant or not. Like, we wait 1 month and then we find out if she's pregnant. If she's pregnant, khalas. If she's not pregnant, then it's a different ruling. طيب. The next topic is anwa'ul mu'taddat. Anwa'ul mu'taddat. And this means the types of women when it comes to hayd. Are they going to ask, or they know that they can ask? Yeah. طيب. Iddatul mu'taddat. I'm going to mention 8 different types of scenarios or situations that a woman can go through. Any of these. Any woman can go through any of these, and they each take a different ruling. So write it down now, inshallah. Later on, when we get to it, I'm going to mention it's the first one or it's the second one. So the first one of what? The first one is al-mutawaffa anha wa hiya ghayru hamil. The one المتوفى عنها وهي غير حامل. The one whose husband passes away and she is not pregnant. The one whose husband passes away and she is not pregnant. Her waiting period is 4 months and 10 days. What is the first one? The one whose husband passes away and she is not pregnant. How long is her waiting period? 4 months and 10 days. The second one is المتوفى عنها وهي حامل. The one whose husband passes away and she is pregnant. The one whose husband passes away and she is pregnant. And her waiting period is until she gives birth. The third one is المطلقة التي لم يدخل بها. المطلقة التي لم يدخل بها. The مطلقة, the one that is divorced without the marriage being consummated. And there are two ways that the marriage can be considered al-madkhul biha, consummated, which is either they have intercourse or either they are alone and secluded in a place where it's just them, whereby if he wanted to have intercourse with her, he could. طيب. Her iddah is what? لا iddah. She doesn't have iddah. She doesn't have a iddah. There's no waiting period. Surah al-Mas'ala. مثلا, for example, now a brother from East London on a Saturday evening marries a sister in the other side of the world, in the Middle East, مثلا. At 6 p.m. he marries a sister from the Middle East. The nikah is done, everything, alhamdulillah. The next morning, when he wakes up, he says, I had a bad dream and I don't want to marry this, I don't want to carry on with this marriage. And he divorces her. She is what? مطلقة, she's divorced, right? هل دخل عليها, has he consummated the marriage? لا. What is her waiting period? There is no waiting period. We shall see that inshallah as well. The fourth type is al-mutallaqatu al-madkhulu biha. The mutallaqa, the woman that has been divorced, in which that marriage has been consummated, meaning that they've been married for about a year or two or whatever, and they've had a normal married life, marital life. لكن هي تحيد, لكن she has normal haid. لكن she has normal haid. The wife, the woman that has been divorced and they've had a normal, the marriage has been consummated, like she goes through haid. She sees her haid on a monthly basis. No, if she sees, no, she's not pregnant. No.
Is that what the qaid is for?
The qaid, to rule out pregnancy. The mutallaqa, the woman who is divorced, who's madkhul biha, who the marriage has been consummated with, and she sees her haid on a regular basis. She sees her haid on a regular basis. Her haid is 3 menstrual cycles. 3 menstrual cycles. Just before we carry on, just have a general principle in mind. Any woman who is pregnant, her waiting period is always until she gives birth. Khalas. Any woman who is pregnant, her waiting period is until she gives birth. Like, the fourth one was what? Or the fifth one, I believe it was, or the fourth one. The one that has been divorced, al-madkhul biha, the marriage has been consummated, and she sees her haid. She's, مثلا, 25-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 45-year-old. She sees her haid. Her waiting period is what? 3 menstrual cycles. Okay, 3 menstrual cycles. Right. How does that happen? It starts from We studied it recently when we were in talaq, remember? Mathalan, he divorces her in a purification in which he hasn't had intercourse with her. Let's say she finishes her haid. She finished it yesterday and she started to pray last night. He divorces her today. She has to wait how many haids? How many menses? 3. So she waits. When she gets that first haid, that is the first haid. Understood? Then she becomes pure again, sah? She finishes her haid. Then she goes through another stretch where she's praying as normal, right? Let her go through that stretch. Then the second haid that she sees, that is the second one. Then in about 6 or 7 days, she's going to finish that haid and she's going to start praying, right? Then when that also stretches out, when that 25 days or 20 days of purification carries on, she's going to now see a third haid, right? So that third haid, when she finishes that haid and she has a ghusl, that is when her 3 menstrual cycles end. That is when her waiting period ends. So she has to see 3 full haids, menses, 3 full menses, and she has to have a ghusl. Is that understood? طيب. The 5th one, المطلقة المدخول بها التي لا تحيد. المطلقة, the one that has been divorced. المدخول بها, whose marriage has been consummated. التي لا تحيد, لكن she doesn't go through haid. She doesn't see haid. She's reached menopause. Or she just doesn't have haid. She's never had haid. And that can happen. Where a woman, regardless of what age she is, as soon as she reached puberty, she just hasn't had any haid. So for that sort of woman, her haid, her waiting period is 3 months. Her waiting period is 3 months. Is that understood? طيب. Number 6. المطلقة التي ارتفع حيضها والسبب معلوم. والسبب معلوم. The مطلقة, the one that has been divorced, who no longer experiences haid. She hasn't seen any haid for a long time. والسبب معلوم, لكن the reason is known. The reason is known. Okay? Her waiting period, first, have you understood the surah? There's a woman who has been divorced. She no longer gets any haid. She doesn't see haid on a monthly basis. However, the reason why she doesn't get haid is known. For example, some women, the majority of women, when they are breastfeeding, they don't see any haid. They don't go through haid. Subhanallah, that blood turns into milk, becomes milk. So she doesn't experience any haid. So for that sort of woman, the fuqaha, they say her waiting period is until her haid comes back. Her waiting period is until her haid comes back. So that type is what? The woman who's been divorced, who haid has ended, she doesn't see any haid. However, the reason is known. What does she do? What is her waiting period? Until her haid comes back. When her haid comes back, then she counts 3 different haids. When her haid comes back, she counts 3 different haids. The next one is the مطلقة التي ارتفع حيضها ولا تدري السبب. The woman who has been divorced, who no longer gets any menses, she doesn't get her periods, and she doesn't know the reason. She doesn't know the reason. The scholars say, the fuqaha say that she has to wait 1 year. And that is the fatwa of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. And they also say, the fuqaha, that none of the companions opposed him in that or disagreed with him. Therefore, it is as if it is an ijma' sukuti. As for what ijma' sukuti means, we shall see that in the next book, Usul al-Fiqh, inshallah. So the woman who's haid, who's been divorced, whose haid is no longer there, and she doesn't know the reason, what is her waiting period? As-sana, 1 year. 9 months, just in case she's pregnant, and 3 months for the normal haid. طيب, the last one, the wife, imra'atul mafqud, the wife of the one who has been, or the one who is missing. The one who is missing. Her haid, her waiting period is, she first and foremost has to wait for the judge, the hakim, to declare him officially dead. Once this happens, then she counts 4 months and 10 days. She counts 4 months and 10 days. She counts 4 months and 10 days. Who remembers where we left off? The part of the mutton that we left off, stopped at. We talked about that. ها؟ نعم. وأما المفارقة في حال الحياة. طيب. So always put intaha whenever we stop, wherever we stop, put alif and ha, intaha, and then the next week that's where we carry on from. So وأما المفارقة في حال الحياة. So what we've studied so far is that the woman who's pregnant, her waiting period is until she gives birth. The one who's missing, her waiting period is until her husband is declared officially dead. And also the one that is missing, she does something which the other women don't do, that are going through waiting period, which is she goes through ihdad and a mourning period, in which a mourning time where she doesn't beautify herself, where she doesn't leave the home except for a need. طيب. وأما المفارقة في حال الحياة. As for the woman who has been divorced, في حال الحياة. شوف, pay attention here. وأما المفارقة في حال الحياة. As for the one who has been divorced, whose husband has separated from her, في حال الحياة, whilst he is alive, فإن طلقها أو فإذا طلقها, if he divorces her, قبل أن يدخل بها, before consummating the marriage, فلا عدة له عليها, then there is no waiting period for him, for her. There is no iddah for her to wait. That's the example where the person from here marries a woman from the other side of the world, and the next day or a day later he says, I divorce her, without them even meeting. There's no iddah, there's no waiting period. And what number is that? Number 3. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, then the Shaykh says, لقول الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نكحتم المؤمنات ثم طلقتموهن, O you who believe, if you marry them believing women, ثم طلقتموهن, then you divorce them, من قبل أن تمسوهن, before you have intercourse with them, فما لكم عليهن من عدة تعتدونها, then there is no waiting period that they have to count. طيب. Then the Shaykh says, وإن كان قد دخل بها أو خلا بها, وإن كان قد دخل بها, if he has had intercourse with her, أو خلا بها, or he has been secluded with her, فإن كانت حاملا, if she is pregnant. شوف, have you noticed that in the mutton, if صح, if this has happened, and if this has happened, if this has happened, this is how the mutun of the fuqaha are. وأما المفارقة, as for the woman who has been divorced whilst her husband is alive, فإن طلقها, if he divorces her while she is alive, if he divorces her before having intercourse, then he divorces her. وَإِن قَدْ دَخَلَ, if he has. فَإِن كَانَتْ حَامِلًا. This is the matan. This is why I was saying in the beginning, it's important for the student of knowledge to first count these scenarios. So you can number them on the matan. Once you count these scenarios, later on you won't be confused when you come across in the matan فَإِن كَانَ كَذَا فَكَذَا وَإِلَّا فَلَا. These sorts of wordings. So the Shaykh says, وَإِن كَانَ قَدْ دَخَلَ بِهَا, as for if he's had intercourse with her, or he's been secluded with her, فَإِن كَانَتْ حَامِلًا, if she is pregnant, فَعِدَّتُهَا وَضْعُ الْحَمْلِ, then her iddah is until she gives birth. قَصُرَتِ الْمُدَّةُ أَوْ طَالَتْ, however long or short that period is. However long or short that time is. So مثلا, let's say he divorces her today, and she's pregnant, and she's in the ninth month of her pregnancy. He divorces her today, and she gives birth tomorrow. Or he divorces her now, and she gives birth at 12 a.m. in 6 hours time. Khalas, her iddah is gone. She can literally wake up in the morning and marry when she finishes her nifas. But there's no waiting period, he can't take her back. So that is if she's pregnant. أو طالت, however long. So مثلا, she may find out she's pregnant in the first month or the second month, and her waiting period will be what? 8 or 7 months. So however long it is. Then the Shaykh says, وَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ حَامِلًا, if however she's not pregnant, فَإِن كَانَتْ تَحِيدٌ, if however she's not pregnant. فَإِن كَانَتْ تَحِيدٌ, so he's mentioning so many sub-categories, right? If however, وَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ حَامِلًا, however if she's not pregnant, فَإِن كَانَتْ تَحِيدٌ, if she does see her haid normally, فَعِدَّتُهَا ثَلَاثُ حِيَض كَامِلَةً. So her haid is 3 complete menstrual cycles. 3 complete menstrual cycles. لقوله تعالى, due to the verse of Allah جل وعلا, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. And Allah جل وعلا says, those women that have been divorced, they wait for 3 quru, 3 months, 3 menstrual cycles. The fuqaha differ what the meaning of qur is. Some say it's tuhur, is purification, some say it's haid. Right? Like there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said to one of the sahabiyat, one of the female companions who went through istihada, abnormal bleeding, he told her to leave the salah أيام أقرائك, تتركين الصلاة أيام أقرائك, أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the fuqaha, they take from that, or some of the fuqaha, they say that the meaning of qur is haid because of what has been mentioned in this hadith. Because of what has been mentioned in this hadith. طيب. So if she's pregnant, if she's not pregnant, she sees her haid on a regular basis, what is her waiting period? 3 menstrual cycles, and I explained to you what they mean. 3 complete menstrual cycles, and only when she finishes her ghusl from the 3rd menstrual cycle, that is when she divorces, when she finishes her time. وَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَحِيضُ, if she's not a woman that sees her haid, كالصغيرة, due to because of her being very young, وَمَنْ لَمْ تَحِضْ وَالْآيِسَةِ فَعِدَّتُهَا 3 أشهر. As for the one that is extremely young, that doesn't go through haid, or the one who has reached menopause, who doesn't get any haid, then her iddah is 3 أشهر, 3 months. Due to the verse of Allah, وَاللَّائِي يَئِسْنَ مِنَ الْمَحِيضِ مِنْ نِسَائِكُمْ إِنِ ارْتَبْتُمْ فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ 3 أشهر وَاللَّائِي لَمْ يَحِضْنَ. So Allah Jalla wa Ala says, those that have given up, they don't get any haid, مِنْ نِسَائِكُمْ إِنِ ارْتَبْتُمْ فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ 3 أشهر. So Allah Jalla wa Ala says that their haid is 3 months. Like, what is the cutoff point for the maximum amount, or the maximum when haid ends? What is the cutoff point? What, 50? When a woman no longer experiences haid, at what age does a woman no longer experience haid? Aisa, what is an Aisa? What age does she become Aisa? 50, 55? 50? Nah, a lot of the fuqaha say 50. However, it has no limit. They say 50 because that's what they've come across. Lakin, there is no limit. You can get women that go through haid. Some women give birth at 60 something. Some women give birth at 60. Some women give birth at 53. So we don't give it a specific age. We look at the haid. Does she get haid or not? Does she get haid or not? That is what we look at. طيب. Then the Shaykh says, فإن كانت تحيض. This is one of the last scenarios. Which is number 6. فإن كانت تحيض, if she goes through haid وارتفع حيضها, لكن she no longer gets her haid لرضاع ونحوه, due to breastfeeding or something similar to it, due to medicines or whatever that she's taken, انتظرت حتى يعود, she waits until the haid comes back. فتعتد به, then she goes through the normal 3 months or the normal 3 months, 3 haids. Then she goes through the normal 3 haids. طيب, so we were on فإن كانت تحيض وارتفع حيضها لرضاع. طيب, so if a woman she's divorced, like she no longer gets haid. However, she knows the reason why she's not getting haid. For example, she's breastfeeding, or she's taking certain medicines that prevent her from getting haid. The Shaykh says انتظرت حتى يعود الحيض. She has to wait until her haid comes. فتعتد به, and then she counts the amount of haid that she was meant to count, 3 menstrual cycles. طيب. وإن ارتفع, however, if it is no longer there, she no longer goes through haid, ولا sees her haid, ولا تدري ما رفعه, and she doesn't know what's lifted it, she doesn't know the reason why she's not getting in haid. The Shaykh says انتظرت تسعة أشهر, she waits 9 months. She waits 9 months احتياطا للحمل, just to be on the safe side, to make sure she's not pregnant. She makes sure she's not pregnant. So she waits 9 months to make sure she's not pregnant. ثم اعتدت بثلاثة أشهر, and then she waits for 3 months, her normal waiting period. طيب. These last two, the Shaykh says rahimahullah, فإن كانت تحيض وارتفع حيضها, if she knows the reason why she's not getting any haid, the fuqaha says she has to wait until it comes. She has to wait until it comes back. طيب. Because some women, they go through the haid, مثلا when they're giving birth, when they're breastfeeding, they don't see any haid. When they're breastfeeding, they don't see haid. Or they may take certain medications, and that medication prevents them from getting haid. So the fuqaha say that she is to wait until her haid comes back. طيب. And that is the qada or the fatwa of some of the Sahaba. The next mas'ala is, if she doesn't know the reason, pay attention with me, these 2 scenarios. If she doesn't get her haid and she doesn't know the reason, the Shaykh says she has to wait 9 months. For the first one, where she doesn't know, how long does she have to wait? Where she knows, how long does she have to wait? Until it returns back. And that is the fatwa of the Sahaba. From the scholars that have explained this book or that talk about this mas'ala, I haven't come across any that have said otherwise. However, if there were to be a group of other scholars and another opinion which says that she waits 3 months, then that would actually have a wajh, that would have a way of acceptance, that would have a strong ground to stand on. Because when a woman's breastfeeding, it's 2 years. She may not get her haid for 2 years, and her husband genuinely may not want to take her back, and she may not want to take her back. Want him to take her back. So there's obviously the qa'id of la darra wa la dirar. However, as I said, that is the fatwa of the Sahaba, and from the scholars that have explained this mas'ala or have explained this book in this specific point, I haven't come across any that have said otherwise. If there was those that had another opinion, it would have like a strong ground to accept that second opinion, which is that she would wait 3 months. Like, I haven't come across any. And in any mas'ala like that, when a student comes to across these sorts of issues, they don't say, or the student doesn't say, this makes more sense. That they follow the fatwa of the Sahaba or the opinions that are already existent in any of the madhabs, or any of the opinions of the scholars, not only those that are existent in the madhabs. Like, it is not befitting that a student of knowledge or even a sheikh in this era invents a new opinion. Right. And the last scenario, like, if she doesn't know the reason why her haid has gone, the sheikh says she waits a year. And why does she wait a year? احتياطا للحمل, just to make sure she's not pregnant. Just to make sure she's not pregnant. And then she waits 3 months. So her waiting period is 1 year. طيب. Lakin in reality, in this day and age, we can tell if a woman is pregnant or not, due to how research is now and how medicine has progressed and developed. So we know exactly who's pregnant, exactly if she's pregnant or not, and exactly how many months she is in her pregnancy, to the extent that you can even tell the gender after about 5 months. So for that sort of woman, she doesn't have to obviously wait 9 months, because she already knows that she's not pregnant. All she has to go is go to the ultrasound, go for an ultrasound, and she knows she's pregnant or she's not pregnant. So for that sort of woman, then she has either a 3-month waiting period, just like the woman who doesn't get haid would. Just like the woman that doesn't get haid would. Is that understood? Any questions on these two scenarios? لا. طيب. Then the Shaykh says رحمه الله وإن اغتابت بعد انقضاء العدة, لكن however, if she has a doubt after her iddah has ended. So now this is a new mas'ala. This is now a woman who's completed her iddah, whether we said it's until she gives birth, whether it's until 3 months or 3 menstrual cycles. This woman has done her time and she has passed her iddah. Lakin she has a doubt. Why? لظهور أمارات الحمل, because there are signs of pregnancy. Sometimes a woman can get pregnant, because the human body is amazing. The woman can get pregnant 5 months later, 4 months later, she can realize she's pregnant without previously knowing. I believe it was not long ago, there was a woman who kept on going back and forth to the hospital complaining of a bellyache. And then about 8-9 months later, she gave birth to about twins or something like that. She gave birth to a child. So for this sort of woman, the Shaykh says, rahimahullah, even though she's ended her iddah, if she has a doubt that she may be pregnant or she's seen some of the signs of pregnancy, for example, vomiting in the mornings and so on, then the Shaykh says, لم تتزوج حتى تزول الريبة. So she does not get married. It is not permissible for her to get married until the doubt is removed, until she's no longer in doubt.
Within that, saying that
With haid, women usually don't get haid when they're pregnant. That haid, that blood turns into milk. So she doesn't give birth. She doesn't go through haid. Like in some women experience haid. Some women, sorry, that was breastfeeding that it turns to. Like during when the woman's pregnant, in the majority of cases, she doesn't experience her haid. Like, if she does, then she counts it as normal. She counts it obviously as haid. Like, that doesn't affect the iddah, because her iddah, the pregnant one, is until she gives birth.
yes, with this situation, she could have the signs and possibly be pregnant, but for me, height is finished. She doesn't know she's actually pregnant.
Oh, she doesn't know she's... No, she waits. That's the same scenario here that the Shaykh is mentioning. She doesn't get married. She's not in her iddah, so we can't say your husband can take you back now. She's not in her iddah. However, she doesn't get married until she confirms that she's not pregnant. Then the Shaykh says, وَامْرَأَةُ الْمَفْقُودِ تَنْتَظِرُ حَتَّى يُحْكَمَ بِمَوْتِهِ. Then the wife, the next mas'ala is...
Would it be a separate, would it be number 9?
You can call it as number 9, but it relates to all of the other women. That's why it's not really number 9. It relates to any of these women that get haid, that have finished her iddah. She's finished her iddah. مثلا, let's say her iddah is 3 months, so she doesn't get haid. Then after 3 months has ended, she sees signs of pregnancy. So this last one that has a doubt, it is not specific to, it is general to all of the other 8 scenarios.
What if she knows why she waits, doesn't come back even after the reason for it going loose? I.e., for example, a woman breastfeeds for 2 years, when she stops, she waits a year, and it still doesn't come back.
So that's a good question from the sisters, huh? طيب, so this question is, we said that if a woman knows the reason why she's not getting haid, let's say she is because she's giving, but she's breastfeeding. So the question is, what if she's giving, but she knows the reason why, because it's breastfeeding. She stops breastfeeding after 2 years. After 2 years, 2 years and 2 months, 2 years and 2 months, she still doesn't get what? Haid. She still doesn't get haid. Then she can be considered one of the other types of women that don't get haid, whose haid has gone away. And then she waits 3 months, and then khalas. Then she waits 3 months, and then khalas. Because obviously we can't say to her, wait for eternity. You know? Although there are some fuqaha, there's an opinion among the fuqaha that she waits 90 years. Like, and that is just to be on the safe side. وَامْرَأَةُ الْمَفْقُودِ, the next mas'ala is the wife of the one who has gone missing. The Shaykh says, تَنْتَظِرُ, she waits, حَتَّى يُحْكَمَ بِمَوْتِ, until he is officially declared dead. And then he says at the end, بِحَسَبِ اجْتِهَادِ الْحَاكِمِ ثُمَّ تَعْتَدُّ وَلَا تَجِبُ نَفَقَةُ طَيْبٍ بِحَسَبِ اجْتِهَادِ الْحَاكِمِ. So she waits depending on the ijtihad of the hakim, however long he gives. And the reason why they say ijtihad, why the Shaykh says ijtihad al-hakim, because in the books of the fuqaha, you will come across, whenever they're talking about the mafqud, and the mafqud, the one that is missing, and they talk about this in fara'id and also in the iddah, they say it's of 2 scenarios. If the person that is missing, if this journey that he has gone on is one in which it is expected for him, it is understandable for him to die. It is not something which is surprising. الغالب على سفره الهلاك. So for example, he goes to jihad fi sabilillah. So if he goes to jihad and he doesn't come back, when all of the other mujahideen have come back, more often than not, what? He has died. صح? Or let's say he goes on a journey, he goes on a ship, and then we don't see him for a long period of time. More often than not, that ship has what? Sunk, exactly. طيب. So they say, if that is the sort of journey that he has gone on, then he waits, we wait 4 years. Then we wait 4 years. Because it is expected he's probably died. So they say we wait 4 years. For example, a person goes to the masjid for salah, and then he doesn't come back. Something's probably happened to him. So we wait 4 years, they say. However, if he has gone on a journey and he's traveled, and it's not expected that he's not gone to a danger zone or anything. For example, he's gone to Hajj, or he's gone for seeking knowledge, or he has gone for tijara, buying and selling, and so on. Like, normally, you don't get killed when you're buying and selling. Like, if that is the case, then they wait 90 years from the time he was born. They wait 90 years from the time he was born. Surah al-Mas'ala. Let's say a person goes missing at the age of 40. We said that they say we wait 90 years from the time he was born. So he goes missing at the age of 40. How long left until he gets to 90? 50. So we wait 50 years. If he goes missing at the age of 80, how long since he was born? 80. Then we wait 10 years. Because that is what is the difference between 80 and 90. We wait 10 years. Lakin, the stronger opinion that the muhaqqiquna on, wallahu a'lam, is that we wait for the hakim. And the reason is because the customs and the norms change. The urf, it changes. Like today, if you don't come across someone in about a month, you know something's happened to him. Why? Because there's internet connection everywhere. And everyone's got a smartphone. Even the people living in the countryside, in the Bedouin, they will have smartphones. So within a month or two, you definitely know. And in modern day, and in the Mahakim, the longest that he has been narrated that the Mashayikh say is 6 months, is the longest period that has been given for the person that is missing. And even that is stretching it. 6 months. Right. So that is the mas'ala that the Shaykh is referring to when he says, وَامْرَأْةُ الْمَفْقُودِ تَنْتَظِرُ حَتَّى يُحْكَمَ بِمَوْتِهِ. Is that understood? Like, ihtiyad, to be on the safe side. To be on the safe side. And they're not doing it because they don't have a clue what they're talking about. La, they're doing it because the relationship of the aqdul nikah is sacred. So they want to make it ihtiyad. They want to give. And also a lot of the times that was the norm. That was the norm. And I believe it was narrated from some of the Sahaba, like Umar radiallahu anhu, 4 years. No, or was it 4 months? 4 years. No. Lakin, they do it in terms of what was normal back then. Because it was very normal for a person to go missing for a year or two back then. There were no communication, ways of communication like we have today. And one of the things that we shouldn't do is we shouldn't give a ruling of what is normal for us today and give it the same ruling as what was normal 1,000 years ago. That's why a lot of the books of the fuqaha, when you read it, the examples they mention are examples that were around 1,000 years ago when they were authoring these books. Like iddah, when we came past the bab to do with slavery and so on, the iddah and so on and so forth, we can't picture it because it's not in our times. Lakin, during the time of the Sahaba and so on, it was normal. That's why a lot of the fuqaha have it in their books.
So if a person's going on a risky journey, you should wait 4 years. So if they're in a journey that's like normal, is it 4 years as well?
No, they say 90 years, the fuqaha say.
90 years.
Yeah. But the stronger opinion is whatever journey he's on, regardless whether it's a risky journey or non-risky journey, then still we only wait until we give him a certain period of time and wait for the hakim, the judge in the court, to give him a certain period of time. Right. So that is with regards to the issue of al-iddah. And it's important that we understand these types of iddah and we memorize them, because every one of us is related to women, and every one of us, obviously from the sisters, every one of them will probably go through any of the situations that have been mentioned. Right. وقل رب زدني